Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy StumpD back from the OPTC video, and in today's video, we're doing a bit of a mini showcase on one of the new Super Evolutions to arrive over here on OPTC. Stampede Luffy 6 Plus is in the game, and we're taking him into Revolutionary Army 2 and Doflamingo 2 with a hybrid captain combination of Gear 5. The two of these characters work exceptionally well together because with the two of them, they give so much utility, and what better place to show that than against Revolutionary Army 2. So that was the team that Arno supports. Let's dive on in. Now, this whole team is completely free-to-play sub, no support, which is pretty wild for Revolutionary Army 2. These two together basically cover 90% of the content. With Gear 5 as a friend captain, and if you run 3 Straw Hats on the team, you can activate his Super EX, or look, you can even just die. And then you go into his Gear 5 form where you bypass defensive effects like damage reduction and threshold, barriers, damage null, all that fun stuff. He then is immune to bind and special reverse for 10 turns. And then with the new Stampede Luffy 6 Plus, you get 10 turns of paralysis and despair removal. You add all that together and you're starting to cook something crazy. Like, absolutely crazy. But as a captain, Stampede Luffy boosts Psi, Dex, and Strength characters by 4.75 times, 5 times with level limit break, reduces damage by 20% and HP by 1.2 times. He boosts his own attack by 5.25, 5.5 with level limit break, and then makes Psi, Dex, and Strength orbs beneficial for those particular types. He then removes the Despair and Paralysis, as I said, and if you have him level limit break level 5, he gives a chain multiply growth rate of 1.2 times if HP is below 30% at the start of the next turn. So you guys will see that in the next clip when we take on Dofi 2, and that is just absolutely phenomenal. That extra damage is so massive, but it's super cool to see what he can do over here on Revolution Army 2 with all of his utility and just bringing free-to-play subs, thanks to, obviously, Gear 5, the best legend of the game, alongside him. As a sailor, he boosts base attack for the 3 colors he boosts, and he makes all orbs beneficial to himself. As a sailor, if you have him level limit break 5. His special is incredibly powerful. He's like a one-man wrecking ball. With his special, he does 250 times his attack in type of damage to all enemies, which goes up to 300 times with level limit break. He reduces attack down, chain multiplier, and coefficient reduction by 5 turns, 6 turns with level limit break. Changes his own orb, including block, into Psi, and puts a barrier around it for 1 great hit if you have him level limit broken. At base, he gives himself 3 times attack for 2 turns, 3 times orb, and a base stat of 1250. But at level limit break 5, he gives a 3.5 for orbs and attack for 2 turns, 1500 base stats, and then boosts color affinity buffs applied by 0.25 for 3 turns. So you can do some really crazy things with this unit, especially if you, like I said, if you hybrid him up with Gear 5 6-star, because Gear 5 6-star is actually a color affinity booster, and you can actually just use Gear 5 after utilizing this special, so the next turn you increase that color affinity, and you can just do some really, really massive things. But look, at level limit break 5, a 5.5 times captain to himself, 5 times to everyone else, alongside a 6 times captain, by the way, which is just nuts, getting a chain multiply growth rate of 1.2 times, and the cooldowns he gives, plus damage reduction, plus utility. Like, this is a very, very, very good 6 plus. It's an exceptional 6 plus. One of the big downsides to this particular Luffy is that his name's Luffy. He's a fighter powerhouse, which is kind of nice, so he doesn't really have to compete with all of the other Luffys, because all the other Luffys will just basically compete to each other for free spirit. And you can do some crazy shenanigans with hybrid stuff like you guys see here, but having the name Luffy is just going to completely hinder him in the future. Just like every other Luffy, even Gear 5 right now, like, that is his biggest weakness. It's the fact that his name is Luffy and you can't use any other Luffy. But as you guys can see there, when you use the special, you are just a one-man wrecking ball. Now, I totally forgot that this unit has utility in its kit. The 6 turns of attack down, the 6 turns of chain coefficient reduction, and the 6 turns of chain boundary or lock removal is actually really, really nice. But you have to be very careful when using that, especially the chain boundary removal, that if you use your own chain boundary and then you use the Stampede Luffy special, you're actually going to remove your own chain lock. So just be very careful and time your specials timely before using them. But as you guys can see here, the combination of these two units taking on some very hard content with free-to-play subs and no supports is just insanely impressive because they have so much utility in their captain abilities. Plus, you have a rush ability, which is nuts, and you can throw on some super tandems here and there and do some really, really wild things. So that was no stalling Rev 2 with no supports, free-to-play subs. Let's see what we can do with some more pay-to-play characters. Over here on Doflamingo 2 now, we're using some more Sugo Fest characters, some limited time rare recruits, stuff like that. That was the team, those supports. Let's dive on in. Now, Dofi 2 doesn't have as many of the debuffs that the previous Revolutionary Army 2 had. Revolutionary Army 2 had literally at a stage where it's Bind, Despair, and Special Reverse, and the two of these guys literally just cover all of it. And then there's Paralysis and Attack Down throughout the fight, which this Luffy can actually take care of with the Despair removal and Paralysis removal in his Captain, and then with the Attack Down removal in his Special. It just works so well. But with Dofi 2, there's a lot of Paralysis, like a lot of Paralysis. And it's like 2 turns, 1 turn of Paralysis, which is pretty easy to get around with the Sailor support, but with the Captain that gets around it, it works exceptionally nicely. Plus, we have to use some supports here just to get around stuff like Poison and all those shenanigans, because there's not that many defensive effects. So like the Friend Captain Luffy isn't doing all that much. There's no Special Reverse. There is a little bit of Bind, but the hybrid combination doesn't really showcase its true prowess in terms of what it's doing for its utility. But what it does show against Dofi 2 is the amount of power output that this guy possesses. With his level limit break 5 captain ability, if you're below 30% HP at the start of the next turn, boost the chain multiplier growth rate by 1.2 times. So that's basically a passive swap from Judge Sanji. That ability that gives you the 1.2 times chain multiplier, you just have that passively built in every time you tap. Now, on this Virgo stage, you take a monstrous HP cut, and that's basically going to keep us below the 30%. With Gear 5 as a friend captain, he cuts your HP by 10% at the end of every turn to stay in the Gear 5 state. Now, that's not a huge detriment in most situations. In this case, it's actually a positive, because keeping below that particular threshold is allowing us to get so much damage output. Now, as you guys can see here with the switchability of Ace Yamato and this ability, we're starting the chain at 1.96, which is just disgusting to have that. And remember, this can stack. So you can stack that 1.2 times with another 1.2 times, and then use something like or 1.5 times. You'd want to use like Shanks, and then you could use, I should have actually ran that Shanks over the Shanks I have on the team. That was silly of me. I kind of need the orb manipulation, but look, it is what it is. That 1.5 will then stack into the 1.2, and then with the Super 10 that does it like Shanks, you can actually get more out of what this captain ability provides. We've seen it in other captains like Ace and Yamato, where they give you an increase to the chain at the start, but nothing like a multiplicative buff that is just giving you so much damage. Now, the draw-off is that you have to be below 30%, right? And getting to that threshold is going to be a little bit annoying for most situations. Like, you're going to have to try and either bring a character that'll get you there, or you have to, like, verse particular content that's going to get you there, like you can see here. But if you just bring, like, page 1 ulti, you don't really want page 1 ulti on the team, but, like, Ace Yamato probably the best option. But they're just giving you a switch, or any chain boundary unit like Super Sugo Sanji on, like, a fighter built team, getting a 3.0 chain, and then swapping out with his chain boost and starting the chain at 4.5 times, being below 30%, and then getting this passive 1.2 times, having some chain multiplicative buff like the Brook support on top of this, your chain is just going to go absolutely nuts. Now, again, obviously the draw-off is the 30%, but obviously this Stampede Luffy doesn't have a crazy captain multiplier like Gear 5 does. A 6 times multiplier is always going to be better than this 5.5 with to himself, and then a 1.2 to the chain, and then not having a super type and a super class as well, which is a huge hindrance to the unit as well. On that particular topic, I don't understand why they held back not giving this unit super type or not giving this unit super class. I think giving this unit obviously a super type, yeah, super type probably would have made the most sense, and then just giving like a color affinity buff. Hell, if it was 3 turns, that would be absolutely cooked. But giving the color affinity buff for himself, or having a super class or super type that just allows you to like ignore type advantage or something like that for 1 turn just with this unit. So he's hitting like bullet damage would have been crazy. But look, that might be me asking for too much. I just think the fact that he doesn't have a super class or a super type is a massive L for the character nonetheless. Overall, though, I do really like what they've done to the character. I think the level limit break makes this guy absolutely phenomenal. His Rumble ability stuff isn't too crazy. He gives himself like a massive attack stat and then 2.6 times attack to all enemies in a medium range. But look, if you're running a side team with a Luffy on it, you bet your ass you're running Gear 5, right? Like, there's just no way you can kind of compete with that. Yeah. Sweet. I was just sort of reading some other stuff, and yeah, he's good. Like, he's very good. But let me know your thoughts and opinions of the unit in the comment section below. While you're down there, don't forget to bell the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff for me. Do you like Gear 5? Not Gear 5. Do you like Stampede Luffy? Do you not like Stampede Luffy? Who are you running Stampede Luffy with if you are using this unit? Because I'd love to see some other hybrid characteristics. Because obviously running double Stampede Luffy is just really not the play. But like I said, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Later!
俺たちの